I never told my daughter Eliana who I really was. For her entire life, she believed I was just her quiet, modest mother who worked in a small municipal office doing simple tasks. She saw me come home tired, cooking basic meals, living in a small two-bedroom apartment, wearing the same old jacket winter after winter. She thought I was just getting by. She didn't know that behind the simple life I showed her, I was living a different reality. For more than 20 years, I was the chief investment strategist for a global tech corporation. I managed multi-million-dollar portfolios, led high-stakes negotiations, and advised CEOs whose names appeared in magazines. My income was over $35,000 a month, not counting bonuses and investments, but I never said a word about it, not because I wanted to hide something, but because I wanted my daughter to grow up with the one thing money cannot buy: character. I was raised to believe that true strength is quiet, that real wealth is invisible, and that dignity doesn't need to shout. So I lived simply. I dressed simply. And I never corrected anyone's assumptions about me, not even Eliana's. The invitation. Eliana married a man named Daniel, a good-hearted, honest man, but his parents, Lydia and Victor, were the kind of people who treated money like oxygen. Without it, they seemed unable to breathe. One Thursday evening, Eliana called me. "Mom, Daniel's parents want to meet you for a formal dinner this Saturday. Please, try to dress nicely. They're, traditional." Her voice trembled. And that tremble told me everything. This wasn't an invitation, it was a warning. She was worried I would embarrass her. I looked around my small living room. Old furniture, a TV from 10 years ago, everything clean but simple. And I realized something painful. My own daughter was ashamed of the person she thought I was. That night I made a decision. If Daniel's parents expected me to be poor, if they expected me to be simple, if they were preparing to judge me, I would let them. I needed to see their true colors, because I had a strong suspicion they valued people based only on wealth, and I had to know if that was true, especially for the sake of my daughter's future. The transformation. Saturday arrived. I opened my closet and chose the worst outfit I owned. An old faded brown dress with a loose seam on the side, flat worn-out shoes, and a fraying gray coat. I tied my hair in a messy bun, left my face natural, and carried an old canvas handbag I had kept for sentimental reasons. I looked in the mirror. I looked like a tired cleaning lady. Invisible, forgettable, perfect. If they were going to judge me by appearances, I would give them the perfect chance. The restaurant. The restaurant they chose was one of the most expensive in the city. Warm chandeliers, marble floors, and tables covered with white linens finer than silk. A place where the menu didn't list prices, because if you had to ask, you didn't belong there. When I walked in, I saw them immediately. Daniel stood stiffly in a navy suit. My daughter, Eliana, looked elegant in a fitted white dress, but her eyes were scanning the door with anxiety. At the table sat Lydia and Victor, already sipping wine. Lydia wore an emerald gown with gold embroidery, diamond earrings heavy enough to drag her ears down, and a smug expression she didn't bother to hide. Victor sat beside her, his wrist weighed down by a watch that probably cost more than a car. When they noticed me approaching, their faces changed. Lydia blinked slowly, her expression turning into a mix of disappointment and irritation. Eliana forced a smile. "Mom, you made it." I nodded softly. "Yes, sweetheart. Thank you for inviting me." Lydia barely stood to greet me. She extended her hand like royalty offering mercy to a peasant. "It's a pleasure," she said. But her tone said the opposite. Victor gave me the same cold, tight smile people give supermarket workers they barely acknowledge. I sat down at the far end of the table, the seat they subtly left for me. No one helped me with the chair. No one offered me water. Not even my own daughter. The humiliation begins. The waiter handed out heavy French menus covered in words I pretended not to understand. I looked at the menu, tilting my head. "I'm sorry, I can't read French." Lydia raised her eyebrows dramatically. "Oh dear. Would you like me to order something simple for you? We wouldn't want the prices to overwhelm you." I smiled timidly. "Yes, please. Something affordable." Victor smirked behind his glass. For the next 40 minutes they talked non-stop about their new beach condo, their expensive jewelry, their private golf club, their luxurious European trip, their wine collection. All while occasionally glancing at me as if waiting for me to be impressed. I wasn't. Then Lydia went for the kill. "So, Eliana mentioned you live alone. Must be difficult with such a limité." Lydia smiled with false sympathy, tilting her head as if she genuinely cared. "Must be difficult with such a limited salary," she repeated slowly, letting the words sink like poison into the table. Eliana shifted uncomfortably, but she said nothing. I nodded politely. "Well, I manage." "That's admirable," Lydia continued. "Truly, not everyone can live with so little. It takes strength." Victor chuckled under his breath. Eliana looked down, embarrassed. Not for me, but of me. And that was the moment I felt something inside me harden. They hadn't just judged me. They felt entitled to judge my worth. But I still stayed quiet. The food arrived. Beautiful, tiny portions arranged like artwork. Lydia made sure to point at her plate. "This dish costs $90, she said. "But quality matters. You can't just eat anything." I nodded again, as if I didn't know that better than anyone else at that table. Then she leaned closer. "You know, Eliana and Daniel deserve stability, financial stability. We've helped them so much, and of course we will continue to help, but we want to make sure Daniel has no unnecessary burdens." Burdens. She meant me. Victor cleared his throat. "What my wife is trying to say is, if you ever need help, we're willing to offer a small monthly support. Just so Daniel doesn't worry too much." I stared at them calmly. "A support?" I asked. "Yes," Lydia said proudly. "Maybe $500, or $700 if necessary. We are generous people." Eliana's face burned with shame. I took a slow breath. "So, $700 to make sure I don't interfere in their lives?" Lydia hesitated, then smiled again. "Think of it as a contribution." I set down my fork. This was enough. I looked directly at Lydia, really looked at her, for the first time that evening. I kept my voice soft. "You love talking about money, don't you?" She blinked. "Excuse me?" "You've talked about how much everything costs since I walked in. Your condo, your jewelry, your wine, your vacations. But you never once asked about me. Not once." Lydia stiffened. I continued. "You assume I am poor. You assume I am a burden. You assume my life has no value, because in your world, value only exists if it can be priced." Victor frowned, annoyed. "That's not fair." "Oh, but it is." The table went silent. Then I took a deep breath. "You want to talk about money? Fine." I leaned forward slightly. "For the past 20 years, I have earned over $35,000 every single month. not including bonuses, not including investments. I was the chief investment strategist for a global tech corporation. Eliana gasped. Daniel froze. Lydia's mouth dropped open. Victor blinked rapidly as if he misheard me. I continued quietly. I didn't wear it on my wrist. I didn't need to prove anything. I lived simply because dignity doesn't need diamonds. Lydia tried to recover. That's impossible. Eliana would have known. No, I interrupted softly. She wouldn't, because I wanted her to grow up grounded. I wanted her to build her own life, not live off mine. Eliana covered her mouth with her hands. Lydia's voice trembled. Why pretend to be poor? Because I wanted to see who all of you really were, I said, and you showed me. At that moment, the waiter walked over with the bill. Victor quickly grabbed it. He took out his glossy gold credit card with an air of superiority. Here. The waiter nodded and walked away. We waited. 30 seconds later, the waiter came back. I'm sorry, sir. Your card was declined. Victor froze. That's a mistake. Run it again. The waiter walked away, then returned 2 minutes later. Declined again, sir. Lydia turned pale. Victor, now sweating, snatched another card from his wallet. Try this one. The waiter nodded politely. Eliana looked horrified. Daniel rubbed his forehead. The waiter returned for the third time. I'm very sorry. This one was declined as well. Victor's face turned red. This is ridiculous. My accounts have no limit. The waiter bowed his head. There may be a temporary block for security reasons. It happens when traveling. I watched them silently. Then I opened my old canvas handbag. From inside my worn wallet, I pulled out a heavy transparent metal card, one less than 1% of people ever hold. The waiter's eyes widened the moment he saw it. I placed it gently on the table. This should cover it. The waiter almost bowed. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Lydia stared at the card as if it were a weapon. Victor couldn't speak. 2 minutes later, the waiter returned. Thank you, ma'am. The payment was successful. Would you like the receipt? No, I said softly. As the waiter walked away, Lydia whispered, I don't understand. You don't need to, I replied. You just need to remember this night. Eliana was crying silently. Daniel looked stunned. I stood up slowly. Next time you judge someone, make sure you know who you're looking at. And without another word, I walked out of